All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest in our series of TDevConf speaker interviews. This morning we have with us our keynote speaker and all around nice guy, the one and only Mr. David Neal. David, how are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for asking. And it's a pleasure to be on the channel, on the stream with you
Awesome.
today.
Well, thank you for being here. But we're going to get started in just a second. But first of all, I do want to make one quick commercial announcement. You know Chris Gardner. He's a good friend of ours. Chris is taking DevSpace virtual this year, so I think DevSpace actually would have been tomorrow and Saturday if we were allowed to leave our homes. But since we aren't, Chris is taking DevSpace virtual. He's going to be starting it actually tomorrow morning, Friday, September 11th. I think he said 8:30 Central Time, and if you want, and it'll be live on Twitch. So I think all you have to do is go to the Twitch channel, which is DevSpaceConf. You can check out devspaceconf.com and at DevSpaceConf on Twitter. So in the morning, go watch Chris start off DevSpaceConf, then come back over here, watch Sam Bazu and Robert Bodeheimer be interviewed from 11 to 12:30, and then go back and finish watching Dev Space. Actually, do whatever Actually, but switch back and forth between the two throughout the morning because they'll both be good. So, David, I sent out. I don't know if you saw the. Got a chance to review the list of questions. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but there is one that I'm asking everybody, which is 60 to 90-second elevator pitch about David Neal.
Ah, well, um, first thing to know about me is I like bacon, and obviously I have a beard, so those are you can trust me because I have these attributes. Um, I am Reverent Geek on all the social media. I try to use that brand everywhere, and I'm known for uh, being a software developer, specifically in Microsoft space, and in recent years, Node.js, JavaScript, and Electron. And I started drawing a few years ago, and so I am now known for drawing silly illustrations, poking fun at JavaScript, which is an easy target, and just being silly and hopefully encouraging and uplifting on Twitter and other social media.
So yeah, in your drawings, I mean, so for example, I know that you have your own Twitter, your own Twitter profile, your profile pic is a caricature that you drew of yourself. I know that I interviewed not Quiz, but Chris Woodruff last night.
Right.
And I asked him, what do you have a preferred headshot? And he's like, you just use the picture that David drew of me on my Twitter. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, because those are fantastic. And you've also done other things. You've done like graphics for conferences, even people come to you and ask you to draw logos and such.
Yeah, so it's evolved over the last few years. I have continued to push myself and to learn more and to do more. I started drawing avatars a few years ago, and they were pretty awful when I started, but I've gotten, progressively better at doing it. It's been a real honor to see some of the folks who have not only liked the avatars that I've drawn for them, but continue to use them as for like their social media or Zoom or Slack or whatever. And yeah, that has led to me doing other types of illustration work. I do a lot of illustrations for my job as part as like creating social media banners and illustrations for blog posts and videos. And then, as you mentioned, some conferences have started to request artwork and different events and T-shirts, logos, and it's been a lot of fun and a real challenge. I've been real proud of to be associated with several awesome events. Like I designed a T-shirt and stickers one year for Code Stock.
Mhm.
I did the artwork for last year's Connect Tech in Atlanta.
Yep.
Did a bunch of stickers and banners and artwork for them, and just real pleased with how some of these endeavors have turned out.
I remember one of the probably maybe the more unique pieces of pieces of media that I've seen your artwork on is last year in Code Palooza. Ed Charbonneau had the blazer glove that you
Oh
did for him.
yeah,
And they were like iron-on patches, actually embroidered iron-on. They're like embroidered patches that he had made. I was like,
very cool.
that's really cool.
Yeah, I knew he had done some stickers. I didn't know he had done patches. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm almost positive that it was. I've got it. I've got it over there. I was like, I'm not going to put this on anything. This is too cool. I don't want to have to put it on a shirt or something and then have to, and then the
Yeah.
shirt get messed up or something because it was really neat. So yeah, I mean, we could probably sit here all day and talk about drawing, because it's because and actually, you're talking about you're inspiring people. When I had the opportunity actually to upgrade my iPad, I went ahead and got the 12.9 inch iPad Pro with the
Hmm.
pencil and everything because I was like, I'll see what David's talking about, see what all the excitement's about. And yeah, it's an awesome little device. In fact,
Yeah.
even though I'm not really using it for drawing necessarily, just the fact that you can use it in substitute as a computer many times because I got the keyboard, the Magic Keyboard with
Right.
it, and you got the trackpad in there. It's amazing what you can do just with
Yeah,
that.
and you can also use that Apple Pencil to not only take notes and
Mhm.
things like that, but if somebody sends you a PDF and you need to sign it
Yeah.
or fill out some information,
Mhm.
you can draw directly on top of PDFs and send them around. So that's really convenient.
Oh yeah, it is, and I got the LTE version too, so I can take
Oh
it
yeah,
anywhere.
cool.
Also, I promise we're going to talk about your talks. Is there something else I want to? Do you do the what they call it sketch notes, where somebody will kind of illustrate as people are talking? Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started doing that a couple of years ago because I saw other people doing it,
Mhm.
like um Melinda Walker has been hired by several conferences to do live sketch notes for talks. She goes by One Squiggly Line. There's another Ayumba, I think is her name, out of Nashville, who does sketch notes. Anyway, I would watch these people do sketch notes and just be fascinated with what
Mhm.
they were able to create in real time. So I started experimenting with it and doing it too. It led to again pushing myself to get better and better at it. I was invited last year to sketchnote a conference, and was I went up to Nashville and did. It had nothing to do with technology. It was um, a credit union event.
Mhm.
A bunch of credit unions uh, that were associated were spending the weekend together with and had several keynote speakers and things going on, and they asked me to come keynote or not keynote to sketch note
Mhm.
their talks, and they took those and distributed them to their attendees at the end. It was a lot of fun.
That's got to be interesting because I guess when people are asked to sketch note, they may be asked to sketch note a presentation that is outside their domain of expertise, and I don't. That's kind of
Absolutely.
that got to be an interesting experience.
Yeah, I don't know all the vocabulary or terminology, but I could latch on to things that I understood and concepts that made sense to me, and so that's what I would highlight in the sketch notes that I drew. Um, things that were more universal, and yeah, it turned out okay.
So you've been you've got a lot of experience behind you and a lot of advice that you can offer. And like, again, you're going to do that at TDevConf. But I would like to ask you just a couple of questions about your personal views on technology and such. But
Mhm.
so what was your first computer?
My first computer was the Radio Shack TRS-80, the
You're
color
the third
computer.
person. so
Killer
far to say
computer.
that.
Yeah. So I have a great story that I talk about
Hmm.
in a lot of the talks that I give. That looking back on my not just career, but my life,
Hmm.
starting from when I first had an experience with a computer, and that goes back to visiting my aunt and uncle one Thanksgiving years ago, and I discovered that they had a TRS-80,
Hmm.
and just I was enamored with it. And sometime after Thanksgiving, they contacted my mom. We drove to their house, and there waiting for me was a cardboard box with a TRS-80, a dot matrix printer, cassette drive, a floppy drive, a bunch
Hmm.
of cables, and a book on Color Basic,
Hmm.
which was the version of Basic that was on those Tandy TRS-80
Right.
computers. And I it still amazes me that I even was able to put the thing together, and hook it up to a TV and get it working in the first place. But they had upgraded a computer. I think they got like a Macintosh or something, and
Right.
they gave me
Right.
that computer. It's something I would have never been able to do on my own or
Mhm.
afford for my family would have been able to afford. Um, and at the time I was thinking, well, this is fun. This is, I can get games. I can type in these programs that are in this book and do silly things on the screen, and this is really cool. And I spent a lot of time on that computer, just playing around. I did not. It did not occur to me that I was learning. I was setting a foundation for me to, a love for computers and technology that would continue all the way through um, high school and college, and then become my career.
No, no, and there are a lot of great stories like that about how people, because of the generosity of a family member or a friend, um, when they were very young, got into a career that they otherwise might not have had the opportunity for. So,
Yeah,
old computers are not, of course today we probably, old computers like, oh hey, it's a test device, but other people, they say, hey, what am I going to do with this? So yes, old computers still have use.
yeah,
Um, your favorite code text editor at this time? I know that you've probably used many over the years, but
yeah.
what's your favorite one right now?
Well, I am still to this day surprised at how much I love Visual Studio Code. Um, when Visual Studio Code came out, I kind of a little bit dismissive at first, thinking, oh well, it's a Microsoft thing. It's probably half baked or it's not that good. Um, but every time I would take it for a spin, I was thinking, man, this kind of you know is comfortable. This kind of checks all the boxes. And this was early on in Visual Studio
Mhm.
Code life cycle. This was before they had really good JavaScript debugging and everything. But once they started adding those features, and adding the ability to do extensions. I was at the Microsoft MVP Summit when they announced that they were going to add the ability to create extensions and have an extension, um, you know, library where you could publish
Mhm.
and download extensions. Um, I think I was already using it full time by that point and had replaced my other text editors that I was had been using, and I've been using it ever since. There's been like less than a handful of times I have opened up something like Sublime Text, which I used to use all the time, and like, yeah, this is a really nice application, but it just doesn't do the things that I can do with Visual Studio Code.
And with the exception of one that I've interviewed so far, everybody said Visual Studio Code.
Yeah,
And the thing is, um, I'm a Python guy by trade. I'm working on getting into .NET Core, and I do time to avoid JavaScript, but and such. But the thing is that I can use it for so much more than it's not a. I mean, yes, it's created by Microsoft, but you can use anything with it. The only thing I
Hmm.
cannot do with it is Xamarin. And so when Maui drops here in a couple months, we'll hopefully we'll drop here in a couple months. I'll be able to use Visual Studio Code for everything. But the main thing that I like about it is I work back and forth between Mac and PC like daily, and it works almost exactly the same on both. So it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, back in the day, I was a real big fan of TextPad.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I started moving away from Visual Basic and doing more classic ASP and then later ASP.NET. Even though I had Visual Studio and um, those kinds of tools, I still preferred to edit files directly with TextPad. There was just so many things you could do, like the irregular expressions and the search and find, and all kinds of features that I just had gotten really comfortable and uh, really efficient using. Um, and even like I spent part of my career as a database guy. I did lots and lots of database work, and there were a lot of times when I would do all my editing and formatting and everything inside TextPad, and then copy and paste that into SQL Studio to to run.
All right.
Um, and then after TextPad, for a while I was doing Notepad just because I was going against all these different machines and doing kind of DevOps like work. And Notepad was free and easy to install on it everywhere. And so I became a fan of Notepad and then came Sublime Text, and it seems like there was something else in between there. But yeah, I've used quite a few different editors, and like I said, I'm still kind of surprised that I like Visual Studio Code so much.
Well, let's go ahead and switch to what you're going to be doing for TDevConf this year. So, first of all, you are our keynote speaker this year, and you're also doing a talk on top of that. So, once again, thank you so much for pulling double duty on a Saturday.
Yeah, no
But why
problem.
don't you go ahead and we'll talk about your talk in just a minute. But why don't you go ahead and give us a kind of a preview, maybe elevator pitch again of the keynote.
Well, the keynote is about unlocking potential, and there's if you've seen some of my talks in the past where I've talked about either leadership or about about being awesome and being encouraging, there I've kind of taken after thinking more and more about these ideas and things that I want to encourage people about. I've kind of distilled them into a handful of principles, maybe 5 or 6 ideas. So maybe it's the 7 steps to being more awesome, or seven keys to unlocking your potential, something silly like that.
It's not
But
silly.
the the pitch is, I there are things that I have learned and experienced in my career that I want to pass on to other developers, as like they were, looking back, at the time. Again, like it's like at the time I didn't realize how important these things were
Mhm.
as I was experiencing them or going through them. But looking back, I can see that, man, those are some key moments in my career where I learned something really valuable. And in some cases, I learned them the hard way. And so I want to pass some of these things on to other folks, so that they can learn from some of my success and some of my failure.
Okay. And then your other talk that you'll be doing later on is, and I love this title. This title just screams David Neal, because it's a kind of tongue-in-cheek title. It's a serious topic, but you present it in a way that that makes people, oh my gosh, this is going to be boring. It doesn't have that. It has that zing to it. So public speaking without barfing on your shoes.
Yep. So again, it's been as a kind of an outcome of feedback that I've gotten from folks over the years of, hey, I would like to get involved in the community too, and telling some of my story about how I got involved in public speaking, which is still terrifying to this day. It's not something that's easy for anyone, except for maybe a few freaks out there who have no fear of public speaking. But pretty much universally, it's one of the top fears of everyone. Getting on stage is like, your heart wants to just leap out of your chest or something. But yeah, the title is Public Speaking Without Barfing on Your Shoes, and the joke goes, well, you know, just don't wear shoes. Problem solved. You got you got the rest of the day to work on it. Um, yeah, there's no shortcut to success for doing hard things. But again, there's some lessons I think that I've kind of learned some the hard way that I want to share with people on how you don't have to be you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be um, incredibly gifted in the form of speaking to be able to share your experiences and have a positive impact on the community.
And one of the things that you said that I think is really important is you don't have to be an expert. One of the things that I do is I do some work for Pluralsight. And when I first started, I thought I had to wow everybody with my knowledge
Yeah,
or my purported knowledge. And then I realized very quickly, my purpose is not to impress, it's to inform.
yeah,
And I tell people also and I, like the Python user group that I help run, and we'll have novices coming. People that like they think there's a test. You must be this smart to enter the room or something, and
yeah,
no, it's not that way. And I say also that people who are novices, they look at yeah, you may be covering basics, but you in some ways are the perfect people to talk to other novices because you're looking at it from a very, very detailed perspective, where more seasoned and experienced practitioners are just going to kind of gloss over those topics.
yeah,
So I
absolutely.
think it's a great thing to point out.
Yeah, I was very fortunate that when I first started getting involved in I used to live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I
Mm-hmm.
got involved in a .NET user group there. And at first, I was just helping with the logistics of the meetings and things like that. Um, just going out to lunch with some of the other organizers and people that were involved, and just talking about, hey, what are you working on? What kind of technology, what are you building at work?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of technologies are you using? That kind of thing. And the guy who was running the meetup at the time was like, hey, you should give a presentation on that. That stuff that you're working on right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just I'm just doing my job. I'm just learning these things. There's no way I can presume to give a talk on it. I'm no expert. And he's like, you don't have to be an expert. Just tell people what you're doing. Tell
Yeah.
people what you're learning. Like, oh, okay. Well, you know,
Yeah, no, no, I completely agree, and and you don't have to go up there, and you don't have to get up in front of people. And another thing we do at the Python user group is we tell people, hey, all we need is 10, 15 minutes. 10, 15 minutes. I can spend 10, 15 minutes introducing myself. Granted, I'm a narcissist, but but still, yeah, I know, absolutely. So I think that so I think those are going to be really great in the way that you sequence them. Also, talking about, hey, unlock your potential, and now here's a way that you can go and that you can go and do that.
yeah,
Uh, we already talked about your drawing. I think that's probably one of the big things that you do outside, even though it is part of your work now. It started off as being a hobby, but it is now part of your work and also some side income. But I'd like to know, outside of speaking at TDevConf, What do you do? You talk about being awesome, but you also help make the community awesome. So what are some of the things that you do to help make the community awesome?
Well, let's see. I've been involved in a number of events, mostly behind the scenes. I got involved with, or I was invited by uh, Gaines Kirgosian, who you'll have,
Hmm.
I believe, on here later on. We've known each other for a long time because he was one of the original .NET user group um, organizers
Hmm.
and had remained involved in the user group throughout, even when I was there too. And so when he started Music City Code, which is now Music City Tech, which is three conferences kind of rolled into one, Music City Data, Music City Agile, and Music City Code, um, he reached out, or we talked some years ago about me being a little bit more involved and being kind of a liaison for the tech community for the code, the Music City Code. So last year I was more or less the chair track for that event and did some of the MC for the event. I, I was involved in getting the keynote speaker and doing some of that stuff. I've done other worked with other events like Underground JS, which is a
Hmm.
brand new conference that was started last year by some of the folks who were involved with November, the Node.js conference that is no longer um, happening in Nashville. Um, and I did the artwork for Underground JS. That was a lot of fun. Um, kind of a kind of did a Dig Dug uh, retro arcade theme for some of that. That was fun. Um, Yeah, and me being a developer advocate, one of the things that I've been so fortunate to do is that once I got this passion for being involved in the developer community, I joined a startup in Nashville called LeanKit,
Yeah.
um,
Mhm. I remember.
that's now part of a company called PlanView. But it was Kanban software, and it was around 2012, 2013. It was a really new startup, and they um, asked me to join, and I think it was around 20 employees at the time, and they kind of, I knew them, they knew me, they kind of wrote me a blank check and said, "What is it you would like to do here?" And I said, "Well, I want to do not only software but be involved in the developer community." And so it evolved into me being a developer advocate and helping with APIs, writing SDKs in .NET and Node.js, building libraries, doing custom integrations. It led to a lot of things. It was all about, my mantra was, I want to do whatever I can to reduce the friction that it takes for a developer to use the APIs in the platform for whatever it is that they want to build on top of LeanKit. And I absolutely love doing that. So for me, as a now in a developer, I've been able to continue into that developer advocate role. So as part of my job, I talk to developers in the community. I try to help people. I try to write content. I'm creating tutorials for YouTube. I do some streaming. You know, I hope in some way it's part of my. I believe that it's part of my mission in life today to help developers be more awesome, and anything and everything I can do to help developers either with technology or encouragement or career wise, professional leadership skills, all those things. That's what I want to be able to do, and that's what motivates me to do some of the things I do in the community.
That's absolutely fantastic. Um, we are coming up, like I said, I do have one directly after, so we are coming up against a hard stop, and I want to get some closing thoughts from you. But first, just want to go ahead and remind everybody that TDevConf tickets, they are free. Go to bit.ly/TDevConf 2020-tickets. Get yours today, and you'll be able to see. Yep, exactly. It's right down there. You'll be able to see David's keynote presentation, all the other great speakers. We've got 35 speakers, and I've said many times, I would be happy if we just had one of the speakers on our list, and we got 35 of them, and we got David twice. So so it's going to be an awesome time. I've been showing people the speaker list, and people say, "Wow." So you're going to see a lot of good names on there. The conference is Saturday, October 3rd, about 3.5 weeks away. TDevConf.com for all the details, and we are on Twitter at TDevConf. We'll be tweeting out all of the goodies, all the good stuff from there. Stick around, because coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking to Mr. Rob Richardson. So do not go away. David, leave us with some words of wisdom, because I know that whatever you say is good.
Well, the thing that I always end all of my talks with, what I tell folks that seems to resonate with people the most, is I've got the stickers and the T-shirts and everything that says, "You don't need permission to be awesome." What I hope to encourage people to do is that whatever passions they have, whatever they're geeking out about, um, whatever that thing is that creates a spark of interest or joy or whatever. I want you to not only you know cultivate it and get better or pursue that thing that you are so interested in, but that you get out there and you do awesome things with it. You share your knowledge and your experience with others so that they can also, join you in being super excited or geeked out about whatever that thing is.
Well, that's great. That's great. And like I said, I could talk to you all day. Unfortunately, we're coming up against a hard stop here. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for talking with us this morning. And definitely thank you very much for pulling double duty as both the keynote speaker. And this was on short notice too. I mean, I only gave him about a month's notice, and I was kind of nervous about it. But he's like, "Oh yeah, sure." I'm like, "You don't have to do both." He's like, "I'd love to do both." And I'm like, in the back of my mind, it was kind of like, yeah, I know, I've known David for a number of years, and I know that he'll probably do it, but I'm not going to be presumptive or anything. But still, we really, really do appreciate it, and we thank you for it.
Yep, no problem. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, so everybody, my guest this morning has been Mr. David Neal. Do not touch that mouse button or whatever the Twitch equivalent, Twitch and YouTube equivalent of a dial is, because I'm going to set up with Rob, and we'll be right back. David, thank you very much. Good to see you, my friend.
All right, good to see you.
All right.